Before we start today's show, I thought it'd be fun just to bring back an old game we haven't played in a little while here. Let's play some trivia. So, my question for you is, who was Peyton Manning's last touchdown pass to? We will reveal that answer some point during the show, so stay tuned for that. But light up the comment section with your guesses of who Peyton Manning, the Sheriff, last touchdown pass was to. Today's Broncos Breakdown is presented to you by Aura, our proud sponsor that keeps you protected and your wallet when you are online. Start your free trial today at aura.com/chatsports. We'll tell you more about their awesome services later on in the show. But speaking of the show, we're all talking about roster bubble candidates. That is the menu for today. Not a lot out there right now, so I figured it'd be fun just to look a little bit ahead at training camp and some guys who are right on that bubble of making the 53-man roster to not making the 53-man roster. So, first of three candidates I've got on the show, Mike Purcell, the defensive tackle, who couldn't have been too happy when DJ Jones was signed in free agency. Listen, it's important to look at Purcell's contract because the former Wyoming Poke carries a $4.3 million cap hit for 2022. It's a hefty cap hit for someone who's not your starting nose tackle, right? And a dead cap hit of just 1.5. So about nearly $3 million worth of savings to be had if George Paton were to just cut him outright. So it's also important to look at the guy above him on the depth chart. One of the bigger, more underrated free agent signings, DJ Jones. Compare their numbers last season and what Purcell did for Denver and DJ Jones did for San Francisco. And you can see why George Paton was really excited to sign Jones, right? In 17 games, 10 tackles for loss and 2 sacks. He is your run stopper up the middle, right? He is the plug that's going to stand over the center and just gobble up a center and a guard and free up a linebacker so Josie Jewell or Alex Singleton can get into the backfield and make a good play. He's also, Mike Purcell, a good trade candidate to keep an eye on because, sure, I understand there's an argument to be made of, hey, what if Jones gets hurt? Purcell would be an awesome backup, right? He's got starting experience, got a 3-year extension a couple seasons ago. But to me, it really comes down to the battle of depth versus having some good draft picks, okay? Because when it comes to depth, sure, you always would like to have extra depth. That's awesome, right? No one's going to turn that down. But when you only have 5 draft picks as of right now in next year's draft, at some point, Peyton will have to think ahead here. And it's not championship or bust this season. So I do wonder if a good enough offer comes his way, he goes, you know what? It's not that I don't want to have Purcell on this roster. He'd be an awesome backup nose tackle. But looking at the landscape right now, only got 5 picks. Probably one of the fewest across all 32 teams in 2023's draft. I got to consider my options. So I'll let you guys be George Paton. What would you do with Mike Purcell? Would you trade him? If so, type T. Would you cut him? All right, type C. Or would you keep Purcell? Type K for keep. Let me know what you would do down below in the comments section. This is also the pinned comment. So if YouTube puts an ad break right after I finish talking, you take that as an opportunity to go down to the comment section and get your votes in. Next roster bubble player is Kendall Hinton. This is a tough one. I don't like talking about this because, like all of you guys, who doesn't love QB1? So we will look at more Kendall Hinton stuff in just a second. But Aura is our proud sponsor today. And listen, if you want financial fraud protection, identity theft protection, online device security, plus if you got family members and you want them under your umbrella of protection, Aura can do that for up to 5 people in your family. So start your 14-day free trial right now at aura.com/chatsports. That way when you're online, because we are online more than ever, or your kids, let's say you got some kids who take your phone, right, go on YouTube, and all of a sudden they're just handing out your information to God knows where, Aura makes sure that you are protected. Start that 14-day free trial. Comment the links in the comments and the description of today's video. Let's get back to the Kendall Hinton conversation. We look at the depth chart here. And for argument's sake, let's say the Broncos take 5 wide receivers. Maybe we can stretch it to 6. The top 4 are locks. Sutton to Hamler across the board. Then it gets interesting. You have Kendall Hinton. You have Montreal Washington. And that's the rookie who's got big hopes for, big aspirations for what he can do in the return unit. So he's not getting cut. Seth Williams, Travis Fulgham, Tyree Cleveland, and you got some UDFAs like Brandon Johnson, who's been, lighting the world on fire. But regardless, you take those four at the top of the screen, plus Montreal Washington, and Kendall Hinton is right there at that 5 to 6 range. Now, what he did last season, he didn't have a ton of opportunities, but he had a nice touchdown. Remember how bad the Broncos-Steelers game was? Like, that was the game Hinton has one touchdown, where Teddy Bridgewater just did nothing for 3.5 quarters and then made a nice run at it at the end of the game. Steelers looked awful. The Broncos still found a way to lose. Regardless, I think it'll really come down to Kendall Hinton versus Montreal Washington for that return specialist job. And they drafted Montreal Washington. He's not getting cut, right? There are a lot of high hopes for this guy to be the next Trindon Holiday. So that's where Kendall Hinton might kind of run into a wall going, not a lot of room for me in the receiving department. And my return abilities, I'm not going to be the punt or kick returner most likely. That's going to go to Montreal Washington. What role do I have? That's where he kind of falls in the bubble, in my opinion. But let's be honest. He's QB1. Like, I don't want to envision a world right where Kendall Hinton gets cut, because what he did in that one start against the Saints was awesome. It was fun to watch. Well, awesome's a weird word. It was unique. Could we call it that? That was definitely unique. So he's always going to be QB1, Hall of Fame quarterback. There's no doubt about it. Put him in Canton right now for what he did in that Saints game, and also put Goodell in prison for making anyone watch that game with no quarterback. All right, let's get back to our trivia question really quickly before we get to our third and final roster bubble candidate. Who was Peyton Manning's last touchdown pass to? Drum roll, please. Owen Daniels. Yeah, household name, right? Texans legend, but in the AFC Championship game, Manning and Daniels hooked up not once, but twice, and that would be his final touchdown. Because in the Super Bowl, right, you had Malik Jackson scoop and score. Well, not much of a scoop anyway, but not much of a run, but still. And then you had C.J. Anderson, like a 2-yard touchdown run to put the game away, essentially. So Peyton Manning's last touchdown pass went to Owen Daniels. Congrats if you got it. If not, no worries. We'll have more trivia questions coming your way throughout the summer. I also want to ask this quick question before we get to our third and final roster bubble candidate. Who was your biggest miss? Meaning, who was someone that was on the Broncos roster and you thought was going to go places, was a surefire, no doubter, and it just didn't work out? For me, Monte Ball. We had actually, if you want to just search it, we had an interview with Ball here on the channel last September, right before week 1. So if you want to go, listen to what could have been an awesome Broncos legend had it not been for some things getting in the way, yeah, check that out. But Monte Ball was definitely my biggest miss. I thought he was going to be, the second round pick he was, and it just didn't work out, unfortunately. All right, third and final roster bubble. I'm going with Bassey, all right? The corner who has stuck it out in the AFC West, right? Started with the Broncos, then went to the Chargers, and then went back to Denver just a couple of months ago. And the reason why he's on my roster bubble is when you look at this cornerback room, it's similar to last year. Now, if there's injuries that happen in preseason and training camp, that would benefit him, but we never root for injuries. But still, the top 3 guys are absolute locks. I think Ojemudia is a lock. Damari Mathis, the rookie out of Pitt, he's a lock. That's 5 right there. And now you get close to, they're going to take 6 corners. Probably not. Maybe. He'd be right there on the edge. They got a lot. Here's the thing, though. You look at the outside linebacker position, or you just think about it, and you got a lot of guys there. Like, is Malik Reed not going to make this roster? Baron Browning? God forbid you trade Baron Browning. I learned my lesson talking about that. But still, Bassey in his career, had an interception. I mean, he has exceeded maybe some expectations for him. But, UDFA to go this far is awesome, but he's definitely right on the bubble. Unfortunately, the numbers are just kind of stacked against him, right? We looked at the depth chart right there, and it's just not what you want to see if you're Bassey. And then we talk about the outside linebacker position, because let's just rattle off some absolute locks for the roster. Bradley Chubb, Randy Gregory, Nick Bonito, Baron Browning, Malik Reed. It's just not really shaping up for him to have an extra DB spot be in the cards for him. Give me a surprise cut candidate. It's got to be a surprise. Don't say a UDFA like Brandon Johnson, okay? That's not a surprise. Give me someone that would be blown away because it happens every year. Not to every team, but I don't think many people saw, say, Cam Newton getting cut last year, right? So just like have a little fun with me right here. Give me a surprise cut candidate. If you can't think of someone, you can just bandwagon with mine, which is, what about PJ Locke? I'm just thinking about how the Broncos brought Kareem Jackson back. So that doesn't really help if you're a safety. You already have Simmons and Stearns who are locks. So that's kind of 4 guys right there. You don't take more than 4 to 5 safeties. And you drafted Delaren Turner-Yell out of Oklahoma. So all of a sudden, the number's kind of stacked against PJ Locke. So that could be a surprise cut candidate right there. All right, everyone, that's going to do it for us on today's show. I really appreciate everyone that tuned in to today's show. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you have not already, because no one does Broncos offseason coverage like we do. So make sure you hit that big red button and subscribe. And also, Chat Sports will have the best NBA draft coverage live stream, breaking down every single draft pick tonight. So make sure you subscribe to the mothership, youtube.com/chatsportstv, because I can guarantee you this. We will not run a Taco Bell ad during the selection of a future Denver Nuggets National Basketball Association MVP pick. Chat Sports.